أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد, we continue, and alhamdulillah, last week we finished speaking about the Hellfire. Even though there's still more to speak about, just so you guys know, but inshallah what we've done was enough, and inshallah from this week on we speak about the paradise. And there's maybe only 20%, 15% of the book left. So maybe the next 3-4 months, inshallah, we'll finish the book, and then we can have a big feast, inshallah, as Sheikh Aziz asked. The Prophet ﷺ said about the paradise, لَقَيْدُ صَوْتِ أَحَدِكُمْ فِي الْجَنَّةِ أَوْ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا بَيْنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. The span of a whip in Jannah is better than all that is in between the heavens and the earth. This is how much? A whip that a person whips the horse with. For example, it's that big. Make it 2 meters, no problem. As big as you want. How big is a whip going to be? It, for you in paradise, is going to be better than everything in between the heavens and the earth. Imagine the distance, how big the distance between here and the skies are. What you will have so small in the paradise is going to be better than all of that. The Prophet ﷺ also said, لَقَابَ قَوْسٍ فِي الْجَنَّةِ, the span of your bow in paradise, خَيْرٌ مِمَّا تَطْلُعُ عَلَيْهِ الشَّمْسُ وَتَغْرُبُ. It is better than whatever the sun comes up on and goes down on. In everything in this world, the paradise, a small span, like the span of a bow or the span of a whip, anything in this dunya, paradise is better than it. And this is something for you to just sit there and to imagine. Imagine if you had all the cars in the world, all the horses in the world, all the women in the world, all the money in the world, all the gold and silver in the world, all the jewelry in the world, all the house in the world, everything that you can imagine. Everything that comes to your mind that a person would want, anything, add on to that, and 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 your little space in Jannah, the span of a whip, the span of a bow, the paradise is better. And this is, subhanAllah, something that you should constantly be reminding yourself when it comes to the dunya. When it comes to the dunya and enjoying the dunya, that if it's in halal, no problem. But don't make this your dunya. Don't make this your Jannah. The Prophet ﷺ told us that ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir. This world is a prison for the believer and a paradise for the disbeliever. The disbelievers, khalas, they can't get the hereafter. They've lost it. They die upon kufr, a'yadhu billah. There's no Jannah for them. There's no chance of them entering Jannah. If they died upon kufr and they had the chance to learn about Islam, or they heard about Islam and they rejected, khalas, for them it's finished. These people, they have to enjoy this dunya as if it's their Jannah. So they don't care how they make it. Whether the meat was halal, the meat was haram, they done it in a good way, they done it through cheating and stealing, they killed someone for it, they cut off ties of kinship for it, they lied in paperwork for it. They don't care. Why? Because they need to do whatever they can to enjoy it. But you need to be patient in this dunya. Sometimes there's things that may be achievable for you in a worldly sense, but the way to get it is haram. And so you hold yourself. Remind yourself of a hadith like this. That even if you have to be patient in this dunya, what Allah Azza wa Jal will give you in the hereafter, just a small space of it. A small space of it is better than everything that you can imagine in this dunya. Combined, Combined. Not all of that space is better than a car, and that space is better than a yacht. No. Everything in this dunya, what you have, that small space in paradise, is better than all of that. And you have much more than just that small space in paradise. So this is something that you think about and you contemplate about, and it helps you remain patient when it comes to avoiding or staying away from certain things which you can't achieve except in the haram in this dunya, or certain things that you compromise on your religion for in order to achieve in this dunya. There were 2 contracts that brothers sent me, both of them car contracts today, and both of them I told them not allowed. And wallah, I was happy. Why? Because it's very rare that it happens, but both of them said alhamdulillah, no issue. Okay, I'm very sorry, but the contracts, they're not allowed. They said, no issue. Alhamdulillah. No problem. I'm not going to look for a fatwa if the contract's not halal. Why would I go into a position that is going to affect my deen, going to affect my akhirah? And this is beautiful. This is the mindset of the believer. And this is because, inshallah, they're thinking about Jannah. They're thinking about what they're going to have in Jannah. And when you think about what you're going to have in Jannah, it makes being patient in this dunya easier. But if a person forgets about the hereafter, then he ends up like the disbelievers, that they make this their Jannah. They want everything in this dunya to be perfect, everything in this dunya to be the best, everything in this dunya to be brand new, even if it means through haram. And this is why you have that mindset. Regarding having what you want in paradise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, يطاف عليهم بصحاف من ذهب وأكواب وفيها ما تشتهيه الأنفس وتلذ الأعين وأنتم فيها خالدون. The part that we want from the ayah, and the people who have, in the inhabitants of paradise, they will have everything that their souls desire and that which their eyes are pleased with, and they will be in it forever. So the ulama, they speak about even worldly things. You'll be able to get. One of the companions, he asked Rasulullah ﷺ, is there khayl? Are there horses in Jannah? And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this verse to him, that you will have what you want in Jannah. Another one of the companions, not one of the companions, the Prophet ﷺ told us, the hadith is here, that a man will ask Allah Azza wa Jal to plant in Jannah. He wants to plant in Jannah. We say the narration, the Prophet ﷺ reported about him, كان يوما يحدث عنده رجل من أهل البادية. One day the Prophet ﷺ was giving a talk, and one of the people from the Bedouins was in the majlis, and the Prophet ﷺ said, أن رجلا من أهل الجنة استأذن ربه في الزرع فقال أولست فيما شئت قال بلى ولكني أحب أن أزرع. The man that the Prophet is speaking about, he said there was a man in paradise. He asked Allah Azza wa Jal to allow him to plant in paradise. And Allah told him, aren't you in paradise? Aren't you in all of this goodness? He said, yes, but I like to plant. I like to plant. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He allowed him to plant. What did Allah Azza wa Jal do? ولكني أحب أن أزرع فأسرع وبذر فتبادر الطرف نباته واستواؤه. The man, he put the seed, and straight away the plant started to come up and be ready to be picked. واستحصاؤه وتكويره أمثال الجبال. It was like the mountains. فيقول الله تعالى دونك يا ابن آدم. This is what you have, son of Adam. فإنك لا يشبعك شيء. Human beings, no matter what happened, will never be satisfied. Meaning, we want anyone else. This person, even though he's got the Jannah, what did he want also? He wanted to be able to plan. And it's something another person may see as something so simple, but this person, that's what he wanted to do. So Allah Azza wa Jal allowed him to do it. This Arabi, this Bedouin that was there, he said, and when I read it, it reminded me of Hajj Abu Ayman. هذا الجزء الذي سنذكره الآن ذكرني فيك حاجة. فقال الأعرابي يا رسول الله لا تجد هذا إلا قريشا أو أنصاريا. He said, Ya Rasulullah, this man 100% in Jannah, he's either from Quraysh or he's from the Ansar, he's from the people of Medina. فإنهم أصحاب زرع. They're the farmers. They're the people that plant. فأما نحن فلسنا بأصحاب زرع. As for us, no way 100% that's not going to be us, because we don't think like that. We're not people that plant. فضحك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This made the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم smile. So a person, when he's in paradise, inshallah, if something is good, something is pure, he'll have what he wanted in Jannah. He'll have what he wanted in Jannah. That which his heart desires, he'll have inshallah in Jannah, even from the worldly matters. Like this person wanting to plant. Like the other people, he's thinking like that Bedouin. What is this guy want to plant in Jannah for? What's he going to benefit planting in Jannah? Now, but subhanallah, different people are different, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will give them what they desire in the paradise. From amongst the matters that the Prophet ﷺ told us about the paradise is how vast the space is, and how Allah Azza wa Jalla will create creations to make up place or to take up places in the paradise. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا تزال جهنم يلقى فيها وتقول هل من مزيد حتى يضع رب العزة فيها قدمه فينزوي بعضها إلى بعض. Allah Azza wa Jal or the people will continue to be thrown into the hellfire until it is said, Hal min mazid, is there any more? Is there any more? He'll keep on asking, is there any more? Until Allah Azza wa Jal places his foot on top of the hellfire, and so it squashes on top of each other, meaning the hellfire. وَتَقُولْ قَطْ قَطْ, and the hellfire says, enough, enough. بعزتك وكرمك يعني by your might and by your glory. It doesn't want any more, it can't fit any more. ولا يزال في الجنة فضل حتى ينشئ الله لها خلقا فيسكنهم فضل الجنة. As for the paradise, then there will remain space in paradise. So Allah Azza wa Jalla will make a new creation and place them in paradise. Yani on top of all of the human beings that enter Jannah, and on top of the jinn that enter Jannah, and on top of some of the believers inheriting places of the disbelievers in Jannah, Allah Azza wa Jalla will make a new creation and enter them into Jannah. For the hellfire, what did Allah do? He put his foot on the hellfire for it to become full. Allah didn't make new creation to go into the hellfire. As for the paradise, Allah Azza wa Jal created new creation to go into the paradise. And this is from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The names of everyone going to the paradise and everyone going to the hellfire is already written. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, he was holding two papers, and he said, أَتَدْرُونَ مَا هَذَانَ الْكِتَابَانِ? Do you know what these two papers are? And one in his right hand and one in his right hand. He said, هذا كتاب من رب العالمين فيه أسماء أهل الجنة وأسماء آبائهم وقبائلهم. And this is the reason why I wanted to mention the hadith. Because we've already spoken about the people in paradise are already mentioned, and the people in the hellfire are already mentioned. But I wanted to further, so we can explain for anyone that hasn't heard the explanation before, and also this part of the hadith. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this book is from the Lord of the world. It has the names of the people in paradise, the names of their fathers, and their tribes. Their names of their fathers, yani Fulan ibn Fulan, and from what tribe they are from. ثم أجمل على آخره, then they were mentioned as a group, who they are. فلا يزاد فيهم, they will not be increased. ولا ينقص منهم أبدا, and their names will not be decreased. The names that are set for paradise are set for paradise. And he said the same thing about the people on the other side regarding the people of the hellfire. Here, we said two things before. We said one thing before and one thing we'll add. Number one, that the people whose names are mentioned in paradise and the people whose names that are mentioned for the hellfire, is that because you're forced to go to the hellfire and you're forced to go to the paradise, or it's because of your actions? Which of the two? Because of your actions. Jayyid. Okay, why are the names already written?
Show Allah's power.
Good, this is a show of Allah's knowledge and power. Not that you are forced to go to Jahannam or you are forced to go to Jannah. So a person will say, but that's not fair. If people in Jannah are already written, that's not fair. Or if people in Jahannam are already written, that's not fair. What if my name is written from the people of Jahannam? We say that's due to whose actions? Your actions. Allah knew what you were going to do, so He wrote your name. Allah knew what you were going to do, so He wrote your name. Because some people, they like to use it as an excuse to be bad. The second reason I wanted to mention this narration is because of the people that think, because of stupid messages that go around, that on the day of judgment, people will be called by their mother's names. So instead of, for example, Nassim ibn Sa'id, the person will be called Nassim ibn Fatima. And people, they send these messages around. You have to be very careful. You have to be very careful about messages that go around without solid sources. And even if you're not 100% sure, make sure you check. Make sure you check, is that source correct? Because there was a time where people were sending out fabricated ahadith. That on the day of judgment, the people will be called by their mother's names. And they use this as a means to glorify the woman. Islam glorified the woman in that which is authentically narrated. We don't need to use fabricated narrations to glorify the woman. Jayyid, on the day of judgment, you will be called by your father's name. You, the son of your father. Okay, Nassim ibn Sa'id, not by your mother. And this is another narration that affirms that. The Prophet ﷺ continued, and he said, after he said the same about the people of the paradise, Saddidu wa qaribu. Saddidu wa qaribu. Saddidu means make sure you do that which is necessary to the best of your ability to be on the right path. To be on the right path. And now the people in Jannah, their names are written. And the people in the hellfire, their names are written. Tayyib, how did the people of Jannah get there? After the mercy and the success given by Allah Azza wa Jal to these people, they tried, they put in effort. وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى. وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا, those who seek guidance, those who try, Allah will increase them in guidance. You need to put in that effort. As Allah said, إذا تقرب العبد إلي شبرا تقربت إليه ذراعا وإذا تقرب إليه ذراعا تقربت إليه باعا وإذا أتاني يمشي أتيته هرولا. If my slave comes to me a handspan, I come to him an arm span. Comes to me an arm span, I come to him a length longer than that. And if he comes to me walking, I come to him running. And you put in that effort and you find Allah Azza wa Jal there. When a believer tries his best, he seeks knowledge, he implements that knowledge, he does the obligatory deeds, he increases on that with as much voluntary deeds as he can. This is taddidu. This is by doing as much as you can to achieve that which you want. وَقَارِبُ Qaribu means get as close as possible. You're never going to be 100%. You're never going to get to 100%. But you try as much as you can. Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. Time for prayer? Salah and Jama'ah? Can't be bothered. Reading of Quran? Too tired. Sunnah prayers? It's only Sunnah. Listen to your parents? They done my head in. Marry a good woman? La, I want the attractive one. You're setting yourself up for failure. This person, ayadun billah, la saddad wa la qara. He wasn't upright, nor was he trying properly. If he ended up because of himself in the hellfire, then he's got no one to blame except himself. فإن صاحب الجنة يختم له بعمل أهل الجنة وإن عمل أي عمل وإن صاحب النار يختم له بعمل أهل النار وإن عمل أي عمل فرغ ربكم من العباد فريق في الجنة وفريق في السعير. For verily the people of paradise who do at the end of their life the actions of the people of paradise, and no matter what, the one who's going to Jannah, he will do the actions of the people of Jannah. The one who wants it, the one who tries, when he's been given that tawfiq from Allah Azza wa Jal, you find even if it's at the end of his life, he will do the actions of righteousness. And Allah Azza wa Jal will bring him into the paradise, and the opposite. The people who are bad, the people who are wicked, the people who are corrupt, even if it is at the end of their life, they'll end up dying upon them. That wickedness and that corruption. And that usually, as we mentioned, if a person looks like he's doing good deeds, as the Prophet ﷺ said, فِيمَا يَبْدُ لِلنَّاسِ, the people think he's good, but internally he's showing off. Internally his intention isn't correct. Okay, this person, ayadun billah, dies upon the dire path, and he dies doing the actions of the people of the hellfire. As we mentioned regarding the hellfire, that the Prophet ﷺ said, حُجِبَتِ النَّارُ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ, that the hellfire has been surrounded by the desires, وَحُجِبَتِ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ, and the paradise has been surrounded by hardship. Now that we come into summer, we face a whole new bunch of hardships. Okay, now that we come into summer, we face a whole new bunch of hardships. And these ahadith are very, very, very important as reminders as to how we are and how we need to be as believers. What are some of the hardships that people face now coming up to summer? Waking up on time? For Maghreb. Yeah. What is that? Yeah, Hamza? Waking up for Fajr. Okay? Waking up for Fajr. Very good. Why? Because Isha becomes later and Fajr becomes earlier. And this is a hardship. Because if people don't sleep early, what ends up happening? A lot of the time they're going to miss Fajr, Jayyid. What else? Especially in summer.
Beaches.
What was that?
Beaches.
Oh. Going to the beach. Okay, a lot of people, summer comes, the first thing they think of, especially in Australia, beach. They think, Allah, we're going to have the best day. Get there early, barbecue on the beach, the whole family's there. What ends up happening? You go and you see, Allah will start. You see Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Okay, you go there and you see Ya'juj and Ma'juj. People miss their prayers. People end up missing their prayers. They usually sit mukhtalatin, the intermingling, men and women together. There's usually argili alongside with it. Sometimes one of the funniest ones, this was a long time ago, before I even went to Egypt. You guys know Wasim Tassisi, he's given the talks here a few times. Or actually, in ASWJ, I'm not sure if he's come here. Once we went, a group of brothers, it was in late afternoon, so it was a bit safe, to the beach. As we're leaving, there was brothers, Allah Yadiyun, they were dancing, they had music on and they were dancing. And the mother and the stuff, they're all sitting around. So Wasim, he's walking past and he says to the mother, he goes, Allah yahdiyuk. And she goes, Allah yahdik. So some certain people, khalas, بتسكر معهم that this what we're doing is okay. What we're doing is good. And wallah, that was a very, 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 very funny time. That was very funny. And we still laugh about it till now. جيد. A lot of people, khalas, they go and they get to the environment. No salah, you see the girls, even if they wear hijab, their sleeves are up, they're in the water, their shins are showing, the hijab is open. This is haram ala haram ala haram. If you can go to a beach where there isn't all of that bad, no issue inshallah. But if you know that all of that is going to be there, then what do? You avoid it. You avoid it. Even if your whole family is going, no problem. This is part of this hadith. This is part of that hardship. This is part of the makarih that a person needs to be constantly thinking about. Jay, what else?
Heat.
What about the heat?
You get fatigued, you get lazy, just like
You get fatigued, you get lazy. Jay, okay, this affects a person. The person gets fatigued, the person gets lazy. Alright, so he starts to say, okay, I'm not going to pray sunnah prayers, I'm too tired. Or I'm not going to get to the masjid, I can't be bothered, I want to stay in the aircon, etc. جيد. شفت حاجة ليش مشغل المكيف مشان الناس تيجي على الجامعة.
The sisters with the...
Hey, what did he say?
No, let my dad answer.
لا. تبارك الله good. بر الوالدين.
The sisters with the hijab.
جيد. He said sisters with the Aisha. Did he say that?
No.
Hijab. The sisters that wear hijab, proper hijab. This is always important. Wallah, every time summer comes and I'm driving and you see, subhanAllah, certain sisters who Allahumma barik, inshallah, there's fire storm outside, they stay upright with their hijab, tabarakallah. And you see them, for example, wearing niqab, they wear niqab properly. They wear jilbab properly. And you see, and this is said that it's the majority. The majority of other sisters, Allahu alam, what happened to their hijab? Wallah, they remind me of Mus'ab ibn Umayr. You know Mus'ab ibn Umayr, the famous companion who died in the Battle of Uhud? What happened when he died? He was a great companion, an amazing companion.
She the one that
Mus'ab ibn Umayr, he was from the very wealthy companions. His mother was very rich, and his mother used to support him in Mecca. He used to wear the best of clothes and wear the best of perfume. Everyone knew him. But when he became Muslim, his mother boycotted him. You don't leave Islam, I'm not going to support you anymore. He said, no problem, that's up to you. You're my mother, but if you're not going to support me, I'm not going to turn my back on Allah and the Masjid As-Salaam. So he became very poor after that. He was the one that the Prophet ﷺ sent to Medina. Before it was Medina, it was called Yathrib. He was the one that the Prophet ﷺ sent to Yathrib, and he was the one who preached Islam and the people became Muslim, and he opened up the path for the Prophet ﷺ to come to Al-Madinah. He became so poor because of his support of the Prophet ﷺ and constantly involved in the da'wah, etc., that when he died in the Battle of Uhud, his clothing was not enough to cover him. If they went to cover his feet would show. If they went to cover his feet, his face would show. And this is a beautiful story. And that will remind me of him in a good way. They just remind me that if they cover one thing, everything else shows. And this is very sad. And you see the sisters, they're implementing the sunnah of the men. Where the clothes shouldn't be below the ankle, you see them, mashallah, they have it on the shin. Wallah, this is very bad. Wallah, it's very, very, very bad. And sometimes, wallah, you sit there and you actually think, Tayyib, Anjad, do you actually feel like you're wearing hijab? And when you got dressed this morning and you're leaving your house, do you actually feel that you're wearing hijab? Once there was a competition, and I was there, and there was a sister in hijab, and she's walking down the stairs. Like the whole stadium can see her legs because she's wearing a skirt that's very tight and she's not wearing leggings underneath. Every step she takes, her whole shin is showing. What? Where in yourself do you say this is a hijab that is pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal? We forget that hijab is a ibadah. Hijab is an act of worship, which means it needs to be done properly. It needs to be done properly. But this is it's a big issue. Okay, it's a big issue. You know that you're going to be walking, but you know you're going to be getting out of the car, in the car, you know what's going to happen. Okay, or for example, when they open it up, yesterday, I believe it was, I seen the complete, usually they leave the air condition, this one was just on the top and just drop down. It's getting worse and worse. I mean, it's very, very, very bad. And now coming up to summer, you say the worst of the signs. Okay? This sister, inshallah, it's 1,000,000 degrees outside. Your duty is to wear the hijab properly. It is an act of worship, and it's an obligation. If you're on the opinion that you can show your face and your hands, what can you show? Your face and your hands. Hands doesn't mean your elbows. Okay? And face doesn't mean 3/4 of your chest. No. You close it properly, you wear it properly, it has to be loose, it has to be, can't be see-through, etc., etc., etc. Hijab is not for you to look attractive. Hijab is to cover your beauty. So if you're wearing hijab in order to look sporty, hijab in order to look pretty, hijab, this is all the wrong intention for hijab. Wear the hijab properly, these sisters, especially in these holidays. And the harder it is, the more reward you get. The harder it is, the more reward you get. And a lot of brothers, just like we told the brothers, don't go to the beach on these days, even though it's halal for them to, you can go and swim, etc., no problem. But we say, don't go there because it's haram. If you know that you're not going to be able to handle the heat outside, go somewhere where you know it's going to be air conditioned. Go somewhere you know you're going to be cool, where you're not going to compromise on your hijab. This is a very, very, very important part regarding the hijab. The Prophet ﷺ, he said about the paradise, كُلُّ أُمَّتِي يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةِ إِلَّا مَنْ أَبَى. All of my ummah will enter the paradise except those who refuse. Who refuses to get a paradise?
متكبر. Hypocrite.
Whoever whoever rejects the.
كل أمتي, my ummah, the Muslims.
One doesn't follow of you.
You said half a sentence and then you mumbled.
People don't follow Prophet.
You know, they disobey? Very good, tabarakallah. Okay? كل أمتي يدخلون الجنة إلا من أبى. All of my ummah will enter Jannah except those who refuse. The Prophet ﷺ companion asked, Ya Rasulullah, وَمَنْ يَأْبَى? Who on earth would refuse to enter paradise? قال صلى الله عليه وسلم من أطاعني دخل الجنة ومن عصاني فقد أبى. Whoever follows me, obeys me, then he will enter the paradise. But whoever disobeys me, then this person has refused. In question, does anyone say, I don't want to go to Jannah? Would anyone say that? It's not about what your mouth says. It's not about what your mouth says, but it's about what your actions say. And this is a very important point to all of the Muslims. When you say, do you want to go to Jannah? Obviously, automatically you're going to say, of course I want to go to Jannah. Do you want to stay away from the hellfire? Obviously, the automatic answer is, of course I want to stay away from the hellfire. We say, beautiful. If your words are truthful, then your actions need to follow. And this hadith is evidence. Why? Because by you saying you want to go to Jannah, it means you have to take the path to Jannah. And that's the only way, by following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. What he commands you to do, do. And what he tells you to stay away from, stay away from. مَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوا وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever the Prophet ﷺ gives you, take it. And whatever he told you to stay away from it. And if you decide to do opposite to that, you don't want to follow the sunnah, you don't want to implement what he told you, you don't want to stay away from what he prohibited, you want to innovate in the religion, then you yourself have refused. You yourself have refused. And this is again a very important reminder for us whenever we're dealing with people, we're giving da'wah, to tell the people, if you don't want to go to the hellfire, why are you dragging yourself there? When people do haram, they are dragging themselves to the hellfire. Dragging themselves. If that's not a place that you want to go, what would you do? Adi. Common sense. If I don't want tomato sauce on my thawb, do I get tomato sauce and pour it on myself? Does that make sense? Doesn't make sense. Why I say I don't want to go to the hellfire, but I take myself to the hellfire? Does that make sense? Doesn't make sense. Allah Azza wa Jal allow us to be people of the paradise and allow our actions to be in line with that which He's pleased with, and only take us when He is pleased with us. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله عليه وسلم محمد وعلى آله محمد وصحبه أجمعين.